Welcome back to another episode of Gumball Love. I'm your host, Melissa Ledger. All right, today I'm going to do kind of a unique podcast because a listener came in and said, hey, I hear you talking about these gumball guys all the time, but what about when it's not a gumball guy, but you still feel like you need to break up with them? What if it is kind of a nice guy, but it still doesn't fit? And I'm so glad she asked this question because sometimes when we're out there, the signs of attention seeking may not be there, but you're seeing other things. And this person, in this case, she said, for once, I wasn't infatuated with somebody. His attractiveness grew based on how loving and kind he was and how he treated me. And so when she first messaged me, she was in this struggle and she's like, tell me how to break up with this guy that I actually love and I have a connection to, but there's other things. And so I asked her to elaborate, what are those other things? So I'm going to keep it generic as best I can here. So she said that after 2 months of him saying he wants to spend his life with me, I noticed he had anxious attachment style and struggled with anxiety and depression, just like I did, except he wasn't getting help for it. So right off the bat, when you have gone through something and it's kind of like fitness or, let's say you've lost weight. I remember when I lost 40 pounds, I remember the level of work I had to put into it, the dedication every single day. So if I met somebody who had no interest in fitness or health and they just were unhealthy and ate the wrong foods and didn't really care and they weren't getting help with it, there's a difference between somebody that's in the process versus just completely not even acknowledging that there needs to be a process. You know what I'm saying? So right away, she noticed, I've been through this and I can relate to you, but you're not getting help for it. So then what happens is then her partner starts relying on her for help in that area. And this is what I coach my clients too with, is that it's not that there's a bunch of things wrong with us. It's not that we have to change who we are, but we also don't want to put ourselves in a situation where we have a great guy. And this is actually one of the main fears that my clients were talking to me about in our group coaching, that they're afraid they're going to meet the right guy and he's going to reject them because of X, Y, Z, whatever those things are. And this is a great example. So I'm just going to read it to you. I noticed he had anxious attachment style and he struggled with anxiety and depression just like I did. So I actually struggled with this when I connected with Ian. And I expressed it to him occasionally because sometimes I just was, it was overwhelming being apart. We were long distance through the pandemic. And so we fell in love long distance. And so sometimes my anxiety would get the best of me. However, I relied mainly on my therapist or friends or journaling. I actually, as I evolved in my own journey, I relied a lot less on going to friends and explaining things over and over again. I learned how to do it through therapy and do it through a journal so that I know how to work through my own thoughts and fears. But see, that's a toolbox that I developed because I became committed to doing the work. And so in this case, this guy wasn't committed to doing the work. She said, I met his parents and I realized we weren't raised with the same values. And even though we were on the same page of how to raise kids, his mental health was really affecting my life and his life. So right away, there's another key thing. I realized that we were not raised with the same values. So now he's not coping with his depression and his anxiety on his own. So he comes into the relationship expecting somebody else to help him with this. I always liken this to, like, if you were actually physically hurt and you came into a relationship and your leg is broken. Let's say his leg was broken. He's like, oh my gosh, my leg hurts so bad. She would not feel responsible for making his leg healed. You would look at that and immediately, like, we have to go to a doctor. To go to somebody who knows what to do. Do I know how to set a bone? No. Do I have the tools to stabilize a bone and then put it in a cast and then follow, I don't know how to do any of those things. Those things take someone who has gone to school and learned about anatomy and all of the things. You need a doctor. But with emotional things, people just think they can show up bleeding out, broken bones, and then expect a significant other to just make it better because of love. And this is when people say love isn't enough, because in this very case, it puts a heaviness on the relationship. So as we look at this story, I want you to think of yourself too and say, what heaviness am I bringing to the relationship? And a lot of times we don't even know. And this is where I help you in coaching. This is part of the Level Up for Love that I'm doing right now. I'm taking on actually 3 clients in June, July, August. So if you want to join in June and look at, okay, if I'm afraid that I'm going to screw this up, I'm going to meet this great guy. And then, what are the things I'm not even aware of? What are the things that I need to optimize? So I don't want us to think about, my ideal customer does not think of herself as some kind of a liability she's bringing to the table. She's like, no, I want to optimize this. I want to see what are some areas I need to work on, because I know I'm enough for a relationship. I know I'm a good friend. I'm a good worker. I am committed. I know you, because every single time a client signs up with me, it's never like meeting a stranger. All my girls just fit into my group coaching. It's just been this wonderful miracle that continues to happen for years and years and years, because if I resonate with you, you're going to fit in our coaching programs. You're going to see results. So let's dig in a little deeper here, where she says, and then I met his parents. I guess I read this and realized we weren't raised with the same values. So we talked about core values just a little bit, but if you're not on the same page with core values, you're not a match. And it's one of the things I want you to think about when you're out there dating and you're sitting there thinking, I hope this guy likes me, without knowing his core values. That's a huge thing we talk about in coaching and my mindset shifting that I want you to think about as you're listening to these podcasts. I want you to ask yourself, do I really know where these limiting beliefs are, and also where I need to have my standards? Do I actually know what I need, what I'm looking for, and what that's going to look like on a date? How am I going to have those kinds of conversations? And what has happened to you in the past? A lot of times when I'm talking to someone I'm coaching, we look at, okay, what's happened in the past, whether it's the most recent relationship, or even if your relationships are 10, 15, 20 years in the past, or let's say you're not even dating right now. I think the number one thing people think they need a coach for is if they're actively dating. And I would tell you, nothing can be farther from the truth. You do not have to be dating. In fact, if you're taking a break, I will love working with you. Maybe even a little bit more. Not that I don't want to work with you when you're dating, but when you're not dating and you're taking that break, you're allowing yourself the time that you need without the pressure of performing on a date right away, because that's what it feels like. Oh my gosh, I'm going to go on a date. I have to remember all these things. I'd love to give you some time to absorb all of this and to really work with you. So when you just do decide to go date again, you feel ready. Okay. All right. So I'm going to kind of toggle back and forth to this message that this lovely lady sent me. So, okay. She talked about how we weren't on the same page. So when she met his parents, like, wow, our core values don't align. And they had some similarities on how they would raise children, but his mental health started to affect hers. This is huge. So again, I want you to look at what she's saying. Basically, he had issues. He wasn't seeking help, maybe didn't even know to do that. Core values are misaligned. But she was pained with the fact that he's such a nice guy and he's so devoted to me and he really loves me. So what do I do? Do I just let this nice guy go because he's got issues? So she said he also wasn't motivated to leave the job that he didn't like, or go to school, or aim for something higher. So right now we're seeing we're not aligned with core values. We're not aligned with goals, aspirations, motivation level is different. And I will just tell you, Ian and I both work from home. He works in what we call it the bunker or basement. It's like the total ideal man cave. And a lot of times we're both working till 10 o'clock at night. And because we both have huge work ethic and drive and motivation. And so I'm never sitting there and he's never asking me, can you work less? Or no, neither one of us are getting annoyed. We'll always ask, what do you have going on? Okay. Do you want to do this? Or how late are you going to work? And I'll literally, sometimes if I'm even ready to be done earlier, if he's not, I have other things I will fill my schedule with because I understand that drive. I understand the need to get things done. We're on the same page there. So when I look at, if I compare, we both were on the same page as far as personal development, understanding our issues, working through them, both on the same page in core values, both on the same page with work, motivation, all of those things. It's critical. And so although we feel bad that maybe we're walking away from something good, is it really that good? Is it really that enjoyable? There's so much emphasis on, oh my gosh, I've got to be married. I've got to be with this right person. I've got to have the title. It's never going to be what it's cracked up to be if you're having all these issues. So something that also confused her is that he would be supportive of her goals and ambitions, but he didn't have the same ones. So it was heartbreaking. If they broke up, she had encouraged him to go to therapy, so he would go for her. But then as soon as they were on a breakup part of their relationship, they would break up and make up. When they were broken up, then he would stop going. So he was still, as she said, stuck in his ways. She said, we tried no contact on and off for 6 months, but that feeling I had was still there. She said, I've gone to therapy and I've seen life coaches, but no one has said the thing that makes me firm in my decision. So the thing that will make you firm in your decision is studying what happily married couples have. If you learn what makes a good marriage, you will never hesitate in the decision of a future spouse because there are exciting things. I'm in the middle of planning my wedding right now. It's in 65 days, I think. And it is very exciting, but I will tell you, planning a wedding is very stressful. There's a lot of pressure. You got to make sure you get a lot of details right. I mean, it's, pretty much probably the biggest party you'll ever throw in your life. And you have every single person that you love and you care about, and they're all coming in. You've got to be dressed in the perfect dress and the makeup and the hair and the photographer. I mean, it's almost like you become a celebrity for the day. And so you've got your paparazzi, your videographer, and your photographer. And then you have this event, a wedding, and the reception and dancing. I mean, it is like you're queen for the day, king and queen for the day. And so all of that is very exciting, but we have our honeymoon spot picked out, and I find myself like, oh, I'm just so looking forward to, I know I can enjoy sitting in our honeymoon spot, reading a book and enjoying the water and the nature and the calm and the ease I have being around my fiance. We're so good together as far as, when we're together and we're not talking, we're together and we're in the same room reading, or he's doing something else in another room, or all of those things. Like, I can work in his presence. One thing I can do that I never imagined being able to do, like Instagram stories, like right in front of somebody, or being able to record a podcast when I know he's in earshot. And it's like, well, if he hears it, I have no anxiety about any of that. And I used to even know, well, I'm recording this podcast and I'm putting it out there, but I'm not there when he's listening. But sometimes I know, sometimes he's walking up the stairs right next to me and I don't even lose my train of thought because I'm comfortable with him and in our relationship. So when you have all of these things, the things that she listed are so critical. Core values. I mean, she didn't list what the core values are, but I think it's so important to really think about, and I would encourage her as well to really write down, where are those core values you don't align? Because that's beliefs. That could be spiritual beliefs. It could be financial decisions. It could be just your values. I mean, what's important to you? And if you're not aligned there, then that can be a critical divide. And if it's in things that you're really not going to change about that person, then what do? You're always going to be in disagreement with the one person you need to be aligned the most. So this is a pretty short podcast, actually, but I wanted to just use this as an example of when you feel like you're out there and maybe you're in a relationship or you're just starting out. I mean, it sounds like she spent a lot of time with this guy, 6 months on and off. How much time before that? How much time are we going to invest in a relationship that if we just knew the right information, if we just knew what it actually took, if we just knew what we should or shouldn't be doing, you would be able to make those decisions much more quickly. And that's what I help you with. So in my Level Up for Love coaching program, it's a 3-month program where we meet 10 times over 3 months. It's an intensive where you're going to get exactly what you're looking for. So you're going to know, okay, this is where I needed to make that shift. It's some of these shifts, it's like turning a knob in the right direction and bam, you're like, oh my God, I totally see it differently now. Now, when I'm with a guy like this, I'm going to know what to do, what to say, how to act, how to approach that situation. All of these things are invaluable. It's just like when I hired my business coach. She could look at my business and say, Melissa, you need to tweak this system and that system. And immediately everything changed in my whole business, my confidence level, my approach to different systems that we're using behind the scenes, to the team I have that's working behind the scenes, and how we approach coaching, how we approach group coaching. Everything changed and it made it all so smooth. And so when you hire a coach like me, this is exactly what happens. Right now I'm overwhelmed with online dating. I'm terrified of doing it. I haven't been on a date in years. Whatever is going on, it's holding you back from the thing that you want the most. And it's to find that relationship where you can move on. I want to help you move on from this struggle that you're having. I want to help you move forward. And so that I feel so fortunate every single day and so blessed that I don't have to look for this guy anymore. I look at him so many times and we laugh. I'm like, gosh, you were the guy the whole time. And I looked and looked and looked for you. And it's such a relief to wake up every day and know I have my partner, I have my love, I have somebody I can go and get a hug from and a kiss and support and encouragement and somebody to bounce ideas off of and strategize with. I mean, it's everything. It's everything you would want in a best friend and so much more. And you deserve that. And so it's not that you can't find it. It's just the way you're going about it. You need to make some shifts. And it also means we need to look at what's going on with you, and maybe some pieces that have gotten lost in these other relationships need to be brought back. I believe that there's so much lost in the wrong guys. And like in this girl's example, that I think she's a future client, but she just sent me a message. So if you're listening to the podcast, feel free to send me a message like that. I love a challenge. She said, nobody's ever given me clarity in this kind of a situation. What if I've met a nice guy and he's not a gumball guy and he's not attention seeking, but I'm still feeling like I don't know that this is long term. I don't know that I can see myself. She felt guilty for ending the relationship, but she could tell there was something off and nobody could give her confirmation. So this is what can hold us in the wrong place, you're aligned with the wrong person. And that's why it feels off. It's okay to walk away from somebody that is great, but they are not great for you. And if they're not willing to do the work and they're not aligned with your core values, and there are recurring themes that will not change with time, then it is okay to make that decision to move forward, because you will feel relief. Every time I moved on from any guy I knew wasn't right for me, I would always note the first thing I felt was relief. And I would think, man, that's irritating me. I wanted to feel heartbreak, but I knew when I felt that relief, it was because I didn't have to give so much energy. It was like the energy I was giving was finally done, and I could rest. And so you shouldn't yes, relationships take work, but they should not require so much exertion. There should be a quote for that. They require work, but not to overexert yourself or to extend yourself beyond, that you give 100, they give 100. But if you're giving 150 and they're giving 50, that's not okay. And that's not going to work, and it's not sustainable. And so if you are in a relationship where you've come up against the same things over and over again and they're not changing and it's not sustainable, and deep down, you get the gut feeling. Look, she sent me a message and said, no one's she wasn't getting an answer, but she knew something was wrong, right? You can hear it in her message. Like, I tried all these things, but he's stuck in his ways. And what do I do? Like she knows the answer. And she said, he's still stuck in his ways and it's heartbreaking. So there's so much potential, but there's not enough for a marriage. And my coach said, you help women find a husband to build a legacy. And that's what I want you to be thinking about. You're building a legacy. This is the person that, sounds super morbid, but when you go to a funeral and the husband or the wife passes away, there's not a lot of emphasis on the actual relationship itself, typically, which I think is kind of sad in a lot of aspects. But your accomplishments stand alone when you die. It'll say what babies you had. You think about an obituary, like what babies you had, what you did for a living, maybe places that you volunteered. What is the legacy that is going to be in your obituary? What is it going to read? Because a lot of times I think people just get married. It's like, yep, she was married, she had babies, but she gave up her whole life. She gave up her identity. And what's in that final blurb about you? That did you build a legacy, or did you just check off boxes to appease society and remain quiet and unhappy? And I think a lot of people are concealed behind a highlight reel and they're miserable. And this is also something as a relationship coach I started to see well before I even was in a relationship with Ian, before I was engaged, all of that stuff. I started seeing, all these women that are married doesn't mean they're happy. They can have rings on their fingers, but it does not mean that they are fulfilled. So I don't want that. I want to make sure when I do it, I get it right, and that I can be the best me, and that I can still achieve my dreams. So your life has a purpose beyond just being married. Your life has a purpose beyond meeting the significant other. However, the right significant other, the right person, will then help you build that legacy. So you want a person that's going to contribute to that, and you contribute to them. And that's when you become that powerhouse, that power couple, that ideal that in your heart, that's what you're searching for. So I'm going to end it there. Thank you so much. And if you have questions, please send them to me, melissa@gumballove.com, or you can DM me on Instagram. And if you're interested in the Level Up for Love series, we are doing this for June, July, and August. So if you hear this in the middle of June or July, just message me anytime. You can start your 3 months. But right now we have a group that we want to get focused in June. But like I said, you can join at a later time, but we're going to have the summer love. So it's Level Up for Love, but I'm kind of inserting summer love because I believe that you just might be a few tweaks away, a few mindset shifts from changing your perspective. And that will just be the one last thing you need to do to find the right guy. And so you may be a lot closer than you think. So you are worth this investment. This is an investment. And so I have learned that the girls that work best with me are the ones that are ready to make this investment. They're like, yes, Melissa, I know that your coaching is valuable. You have a proven framework. You've helped so many other women find relationships. A lot of my clients are on second, third babies. They are happy. They found their guy. They're not coming back to me saying, I'm having issues in my relationship even. I mean, once you get it right, it's right for good. And so I can assure you, the system is proven. It's worth the investment. You are worth it. And I just want you to think, if you don't do it, what does that mean? How much longer are you going to stay in this situation? How much longer are you going to stay sad or feeling like you're not enough or feeling scared you're going to make the wrong decision? Those are the two main fears. I'm scared I'm going to meet another guy that's going to be wrong for me, or I'm scared I'm going to meet the right guy and I'm not going to be enough for him. And we need to squash those fears, empower you, give you the confidence that you need, give you the mindset shift that's critical so that you're able to see the wrong guys and the right guys. And you'll know that you will have the confidence to sit there with a high caliber man and feel comfortable in your own skin. You will feel light. You will feel secure. You will feel steady and worthy. All right, my love, I can't wait to hear from you. So send me an email, melissa@gumballove.com, or send me a DM on Instagram or Facebook or wherever you find me. There's usually a way to DM me. So I look forward to hearing from you. Until next time, I'll see you soon.